So, hello once again. My name is Michał Latacz, and I am from a company which is called NOA MARINE. I'm very happy that I can speak to you now during this meeting, during this conference, and I'm so happy that I will be able to tell you about the technologies we develop. Well, the technologies which I will be telling you about, they are now being implemented for not only scaling or monitoring of wrecks, because the main area in which we operate, these are offshore wind energy, offshore parks, and critical infrastructure. But we see that our technologies may be successfully used, applied to support your knowledge, your database on wrecks, to support monitoring of the wrecks and the ecosystem condition around them. The system which we are now implementing in the Baltic Sea, it was developed by NOA MARINE, and we acted together in cooperation with Bonus Committee in Helsinki, which co-finance projects of high importance for the Baltic Sea region. Our project has been recognized as such. It's Bonus Blue Baltic program. And we are doing it also together with the National Science Center, and they cooperate with the Helsinki Center. And I will be telling, well, in my presentation, I want to focus on not exactly the wreck problems, as it has been covered, but I want to show you some tools which we are building and implementing, which to me may contribute to improvement of the environmental status and increase database on wrecks and on possible hazards coming from the wrecks. A short slide now, which shows you, well, something that you, I suppose, know. I'm showing nothing new here, because on the left side, you see the location of wrecks in the Polish waters. You know all of them, I'm pretty sure. But to us, some time ago, it was a discovery when we realized that some of these wreck has some chemical substances. I learned some time ago how much chemical weapon and hazardous substances are there in the Baltic Sea, just close to us. And I was really impressed. And we understood that the technologies that we develop for energy sector may contribute to improve the environmental status of the Baltic Sea, not only the Baltic Sea. One interesting thing I want to share with you, because maybe not everybody of you know about it, but to us it was a huge surprise. In the North Sea, which is close to us, and this conference is international, so I want to give you this piece of information. We know that all the drill bores left in the sea, and all the boreholes which are now closed. Methane, the gas, is being released, and I'm telling you about it because methane is a gas which is 4 times more hazardous for greenhouse effect. It's much more hazardous compared to the carbon dioxide. And I'm telling you about it because we have the common denominator for the Baltic Sea wrecks and the methane leakage in the northern sea. And the issues we are now talking about during this conference for the Baltic Sea and for the methane problem, these are things which are imminent risk to our existence, which is why we need to solve these problems really soon, while the scale of the problem is with no precedence. It's difficult for us to imagine. And it would require to solve this problem, we need to have precise planning, allocation of limited resources we have, and wise choosing the priority measures to make this process feasible and efficient. To make good decisions, I mean the decision makers, companies, which provide services to infrastructural projects. So we need access to data. Without knowledge on the sea, provided in real time, which will enable following the dynamics of the processes in the sea. So it's quite limited or impossible. It's not possible to make decisions without deep knowledge. So as we see it, as we understand the world we are in, the closest future belongs to the systems which will provide for remote access to data about sea and ecosystem, to be able to respond really fast on changes. Well, we know how you can build the knowledge about sea. Science has made significant progress, and we see very good technologies which help us to research oceans, but most of activities out there in the ocean about researching, about mapping of the systems. So we do have technologies, and to do that, we use people. And personnel is the bottleneck in such projects. We know that the cost of a vessel is like 60% of the ocean mission, the vessel. And the vessel, I mean here, the vessel itself, and also personnel and fuel and equipment. So the issue here is not only cost when we want to build up high quality knowledge about ocean. So it's not only the cost, but also availability of such vessels. At present, the ocean projects mean that really soon we'll be having shortage of good vessels, which will make the knowledge building system even more difficult. And when we use vessels, well, all the scientists which we cooperate with, they focus on undersampling. They highlight undersampling, and the undersampling is the result of using a vessel which can't take a lot of samples. The vessels are huge and the vessel is expensive. So building up knowledge about ecosystem, you make only several managements and sampling in the key locations, and then you extrapolate data to be able to draw more general conclusions, while sampling density, well, not making them every kilometer, but every 100 meter or 50 meters, quite often we receive way better picture of the environment and the processes. So we, NOA Marine company, we are working to reduce costs of knowledge building process, but also we work on technologies which will improve data quality to be able to make better decision for the ecosystem and to minimize wrong decisions. The future is autonomous. I want to highlight some main trends and explain how the present market of technology changes. Really soon, we'll be having the shift of paradigm in offshore industry. It's coming from the volume of work which is to be done, and the availability of vessels, which we may use to research ecosystems close to dangerous wrecks. And the industry now is heading towards the unmanned solutions because of the costs, because of data collection, the cost of data collection, and because of undersampling. All the biggest agencies or organizations which predict the industry direction, they clearly state that the close future, like tomorrow, 2-3 years ahead of us, the majority of ocean operations with operations, maintenance, and service will be mainly done by remote unmanned units. And this is exactly what we are working on at present. I will now show you what we are working on and how we are different from other providers of similar system available on the market. Another thing which is also very important, which will have huge impact on the sector, including on wreck monitoring. I mean now the zero emission regulation from the offshore industry, the net zero compliance. It's a very comprehensive process planned for many years ahead of us, but still the objective of it is to completely eliminate greenhouse gas emissions from industry processes in the offshore industry. And we are not talking here about the transport industry, but also service vessels, companies which make infrastructural processes and projects in the ocean. And also, these regulations cover or will cover service companies in the supply chain of such companies. The new world which is coming is clean and is a reality where vessels make no emissions, and that's good. But the negative impact of it on the industry in short horizon is that difficult researching of wrecks, what's difficult in it, it will be even more difficult because of very limited supply of the vessels. In 2030, in the UK, no vessels will be allowed to the ports with these fueled by oil, and this is really close to us. And really soon, the excise tax for fuel will be increased twice, which will have a very negative impact on availability of the technologies and of the vessels. In NOA MARINE, we believe this is an opportunity to us. The unmanned systems, which are now being used in the sea, they have many limitations as well, and we identify them. The main producers, they don't have well, we are talking about the vehicles, remote vehicles, which are up to 2 meters long, and they are quite limited as to load. They have the load capacity of 10, maybe 20 kilograms, while our vehicles may have up to 100 kilograms of the equipment. The unmanned systems, they require special knowledge on the customer side. They're pretty complicated in implementation, and they are pretty expensive, and they are offered as ready products. But to be able to implement it, you need to have you need to buy such equipment, and you need to take risk of losing it, which is yet another limit. Which is why NOA MARINE implements or is working on vehicles which will be in line with the new trends, which will change the marine industry. Here you see a vehicle which is a part of CBio Sentinel system, the unmanned vehicle, which we are now testing in the Baltic Sea. It is now being implemented. We have had several very interesting missions in the Baltic Sea. But what you see here, it's a mobile chemical laboratory, unmanned, which may move and deliver data about sea, conduct observations with chemical sensors in situ, and thus deliver the collected data directly to the desk of the researcher by a GMS or satellite connection. And what is important, because we have a bionic fuel system, you will really soon what it looks like. I'm talking about these black wings, which you see at the sides. So we have limited the energy. We have improved energy efficiency with very high level of maneuver and operational capacity. With this kind of construction, we may increase the fuel consumption. The system has been designed to be used to use only renewable energy of wind, the energy of sea wave, wind, and sun energy sources. So CBio Sentinel has been now implemented in the Baltic Sea, and we will be doing it with the zero emission of green gas emission and CO2. The systems we are making, they consist basically of two components. One part, these are vehicles. They are mobile labs capable to make samples and analysis on site, and then sending it onshore or to the dock station. And the second component, which we are working on right now, these are docking stations were and wireless docking stations and recharging stations. Well, the system may be reprogrammed, so it's not really necessary for a man to be there to reprogram the system. And our objective is to offer a system which will enable 6 months without any human intervention, so that all the system could work for 6 months. And now briefly about our vehicles. So I started to cover it earlier, but with using of wave energy source, we have this. We have a very robust system. We have had strong collisions with other objects during the tests. We've had several situations. And we know that the system is very robust in practice. It's very difficult to destroy it, in contrast to other wave energy systems which have been developed in the US or in France or Germany. Our system is very resilient. It may have industry application as a result, and it has high energy efficiency. And we have improved the safety of the system. It may stop below 1 meter, and it's very good in maneuvering, and it may move very efficiently, although it may weigh as much as 400 kilograms. So with including the equipment and everything. Under the bonus Baltic project, we have checked the installation of heavy radon sensors, which require analysis of huge samples of water to collect required information. The system allows for hovering long distances. We may hover long distances, which increases the range of the system. And as a result, also, the system is completely safe for the animals. Will not entangle into water installations. We have no rotoring parts. Sometimes jellyfish could be really close to this system, and they had no harm from it.
This is important because it's ecosystems you're dealing with, but it has another advantage, and I'll come back to that later. The docking systems we're working on are different from the drone docking systems available on the market. A lot could be said about this in terms of the differences, but the main differences are that we don't need any special structures on the seabed, and vehicles can dock directly to the buoy even during when the sea is rough. And the system is designed for operations up to 6 in terms of sea condition. And so we can still extract the data and send the data to the server. Another important thing is that we want to have a continuous operation for the system, and that's how we're designing and building it. So continuous operation 360 days a year. So for those who are in offshore, I think that just sends a clear signal in terms of how much more efficient we are with data collection. Today, the standard is 125 days a year. The other days, the ship stays in the port waiting for good weather. If the weather is bad, obviously the ship cannot operate and do its job. The system is 100% compatible with net zero goals. And the system we are offering is offered as robotics as a service, where we don't sell the vehicles in the model. Instead, we offer the data collection service, and there's one fee that depends on the number of vehicles deployed in a place. And so just one fee covers the installation of the system, any services from us, reprogramming. And so a client or an institution doesn't have to worry about system maintenance at all because they don't really care about this. What they care about is having access to data. So this is the service that we provide. There are lots of things that can be done underwater using unmanned vehicles. This is directed for oil, gas, and wind farms and generally offshore industries. But some of the features our vehicles have can be easily also used and can easily work for monitoring of shipwrecks. Just to give you a quick idea, for example, the ability to carry heavy loads, where we can transport sensors from one place to another. They can stay in water for a long time, at the bottom also for a long time. And as I said, they can carry the sensors and they can work, that they continue to operate over extended periods. And that way they provide data in a repetitive regime. So that helps to understand the trends. So I have some videos to show to you at the end of my presentation. So I want to share with you how we at NOAA Marine see the monitoring of wrecks. Well, obviously, this is a concept we've devised, and do get in touch with us, and we'll be delighted to start a dialogue with people or institutions involved in wrecks monitoring. We'll be happy to work with you and improve the methodology by providing our technology. So how do we envisage it? Let's say there's a constellation of wrecks, and these are the wrecks that we want to monitor continuously. So what you need um, on a stretch of 100, 150 kilometers, we can set up one buoy, and one such buoy covers 1 to 5 vehicles. And that depends on the need on or what they are supposed to do. But the important thing is these vehicles are programmed for specific routes around the wrecks. And they will cover those routes and maneuver around them. They will go past the wrecks at pre-programmed depths, etc. Plus, it's a repetitive thing. Our systems can be programmed remotely, so we can remotely change the route. But first of all, we can dynamically react to any processes that may be happening there. We feed the information to the server in real time, almost real time, because obviously the marine environment is quite demanding when it comes to data transmission. So our technology is in direct touch with the vehicle when the vehicle and the buoy see each other. But if there is an obstacle between them, then the vehicle can come out of the water and communicate with the buoy. There are lots of different scenarios, and I don't want to dwell on that too much. I'll be happy to provide you the details later if you'd like to know. And the other way to use our mobile laboratory is what we call matrix sampling, where there's a rack with dangerous chemicals in it and they are leaking. What we want to know is the dynamics of the processes happening there. So our mobile lab is perfect for this. It has a ballast system. That way it can sink to the bottom where required, and we will put together a matrix under which the vehicle will visit that site when required on a regular basis, could be once a week or once a month. And they will sample the data from specifically selected locations. So it's data collected in the same spots. And this could be a very dense network, like 10 or 100 meters in between the sampling points. We feel that this could be a great improvement in terms of how much we can learn about the dynamics of the phenomena happening there. And I have several short videos from our most recent missions in the Baltic. This is the Sea Sentinel mobile lab. So its first task is to get to the required depth or get to the bottom, carry out some maneuvers just above the bottom. And during the recent missions, our focus has been on underwater navigation and communications. Obviously, this is wireless communication, and we can program the whole thing. Right now, this is autonomous mode entirely, with humans not involved in the process at all. It's up to the vehicle to make its own decisions. The vehicle is almost 400 kilograms. That's the weight. And when in air, the LED lights, you can see there use as much energy as how much it needs to move in the water. So with the energy it has on board, this is good enough for weekly operation in between the charges, which is also a good thing in terms of energy efficiency and the length of the missions. Here's an interesting thing. We've had several visits to dangerous objects in the Gulf of Gdansk. This is mine 08/39. That's a weapon. On the left-hand side, this is historical material from the archives of the Maritime Institute. On your right-hand side is the current image about a month ago, which we recorded using the Sea Sentinel system. What you can see, well, I just want you to see the vehicle in motion. The reason why it's important, well, probably you think that it's an original way for the vehicle to move, but that's not what I mean. My point is that it has a very specific feature. Remember that the weight of this in the air is 400 kilograms. Now it's maneuvering right above the sea bottom. But please note, we are not disturbing the bottom. There is no distraction to the medium. And as a result, we can improve the data there is no disturbance to the water column. And number two, it improves the safety of approaching the wrecks because we are not disturbing the water, and as a consequence, we are not disturbing any hazardous substances. So this is hardly invasive, very little impact on the environment. That's how our lab can move. This is safe and very close to the wrecks. And a short video or two videos when we visited the submarine wreck of ORP Ślązak. We know there are no hazardous substances there, but this is just to show you how close we were able to approach the wreck. Our vehicle is being recorded by an ROV by Sub. And please note that Sub keeps repositioning itself because it has to put up a fight against the current and all the forces that are there close to the seabed. And see that our vehicle is moving very calmly without disturbing anything. It can keep a stable position and sample chemical data or any other data using its sensors. We we are about to inspect the cover of the submarine. That's just about 30 meters, very limited visibility. That was November, and the visibility in the Baltic was very poor. But we are very close, and that way we can document the plates. And the vehicle itself does not pose any risk to the wreck or to the condition of the plates, because we don't know what the condition is. But what we can do is we can document the condition and move quite close to the wrecks and collect chemical data. Now, to finish, can I just encourage you to get in contact with us? Our work fits in with the Sustainable Development Goals. We are happy to be part of international projects and happy to join consortia. And we'll be happy to work with you if you'd like to know more about our service, perhaps have a pilot service in locations that could offer advantages or benefits to your organizations. So thank you for listening, and I'll be happy to take your questions.